Hello and welcome to OurTime. Our guests are Adam and Ben Hooper. Now, for the past 2 years, their band Goldstein have been working on a project called Unsung Folk, which has involved interviewing people in South Australia who have made a significant contribution to the community and writing an original song about them. What a great idea. And to date, they've produced 6 videos and original songs published on YouTube and social media and have several more to be released this year. But they're here. Here are
Adam Hooper.
Ben Hooper. Nice to be here, Malcolm.
And Ben, you're the eldest.
By 4 years.
So
yes.
Should I speak to you first, do you think? For that reason?
Well, Adam, I think I'll have a shot
Was he
first.
a good baby brother?
He wasn't too bad. We sort of, being 4 years apart, Malcolm, we weren't exactly competitors, so we sort of kept to our own a bit, played football together in the backyard, and then whenever it got too rough, he would go into mum.
There was one major fight from my memory. We had one punch-up.
We did, yep.
A real punch-up, and that's how you lost your hair.
I was
How did you get into
snoring.
music? Were you both interested? Did you take it up first and you copy? What happened?
Well,
It's always interesting to hear this, actually, from brothers, because whether it's a sibling rivalry or, you know, whatever makes you do something, what happened for you guys?
Well, I'll start probably from my point of view. So I started in year 3 at primary school. I was doing a lot of sport, and a group, the Suzuki Violin School, came to my primary school, and they got up on stage and they played their violins.
Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star.
Twinkle, twinkle, go tell Aunt Rhodey.
Yeah.
It's exactly what it sounds like.
Yeah.
And I went home and asked Mum and Dad and said, I'd love to learn the violin. So I started it at that age. And
But isn't that brilliant, though, that happens? You know, we can sort of send it up, but the reality is giving kids the opportunity to learn to play an instrument at any age is wonderful.
Yeah, and the way they did it in that method's fantastic for someone like me. And I think Adam probably grew up hearing me saw away in those early years, and so he didn't have any interest in violin. I'd probably scared him off that.
We shared a room too, Malcolm, so it was pretty rough, those early years of practice on the violin. But yeah, Mum and Dad, they did want both of us to have a balance of sport and music, because our dad was very much a sportsman, played league footy for Westies.
Right.
And Mum worked in the theatre. So
she wanted the art side.
She did want the arts, and so I started playing piano around about the same age, grade 3 at school.
Right. You know, it's funny because in most families, parents sort of think, well, the boys are going to play sport and the girls are going to go to dancing school, sort of thing. And it's unfortunate because a lot of boys miss the opportunity to actually be part of the performing arts. And when you look around, how many men do you see in opposite to girls, sort of playing, dancing, singing, whatever? The opposites aren't even, which is a shame.
It is, and you know, there's been so much research done over the last, 10, 15 years of the great benefits, you know, having a music education or any type of arts education.
Well, opening
for
up
young
your mind
people
is the thing.
Yeah, so I know I'm very grateful, and I'm sure Ben is as well, that we were given that opportunity to start learning an instrument.
Exactly. So you went on, Ben, to be what in life?
Well, so musically, when I did classical music, but probably and got to a certain level at high school, but then went in another direction with work, but still in a creative sort of industry. Interestingly, when you were talking about theatre, when I was going through university, I worked part-time as an usher at the Festival Theatre.
Right.
And
You saw everything.
I saw everything, and it was probably the best part-time job you could possibly have.
Yes.
So 4 years, you know, I think I saw the entire 42nd Street season every single night, which is good after a...
Did you learn to tap in the end?
No, I didn't. But so that's where I went, and have kept doing music as a hobby and just love it.
But for you, it's different, a different story.
Yes, Malcolm, probably a little bit different in that something about music really, I knew for quite a long time that it was going to be my career in some way. though when I finished year 12, I had a little bit of a left turn and started a film course, actually, and I did enjoy that, but that only lasted for a year, and I went back and I did my music degree in composition, and then I did some my teaching, advanced diploma in teaching.
Which you're now doing.
I am a music teacher, and I really love my work because...
Isn't it good when you see the light go on in a student's mind?
Oh, it's fantastic.
That's why you're teaching then, isn't it?
I love seeing those kids that first start an instrument and stick with it for, you know, those early tricky periods where it's really challenging, and then once they get over that little hump and start to realise that it can be such a creative, you know, medium, and you can bring a lot of joy to people through it.
Well, to me, I often would liken that to learning to drive a car, because you always want to drive a car because you want to get somewhere, like listening to music. And then when you actually do the practice, read the book, take the lessons, all of that stuff, you can drive a car, but you can drive a car without thinking about it. But you still have to know where to go with it. So for me, that's the music part. That's the reading, the music part. So again, you need to understand all of that. It's just, it's wonderful though that we are turning out people like you, giving them that joy in life. So how did the band get back together?
Do you want me to talk about that, Ben? Oh, well, I was really interested in coming to watch Ben. He started playing at some Irish pubs around Adelaide.
You're still playing violin?
Yes.
Yeah.
Or would you call it fiddle if you're doing Irish pubs?
I think I think I started calling it fiddle by about that stage.
Okay.
So that was really fascinating to see this, you know, diverse range of people just coming together in the back room of a pub, and you know there'd be one person there who'd just start playing a melody, and everyone kind of clicked in the room and jumped on board that melody. And I think, you know, watching Ben get involved in that, and I had played in bands before, but that was probably a key moment that made me think, oh, it'd be good fun to...
So you're playing keys still?
I've started to play some accordion and some acoustic guitar, and I came along to one of those sessions, and I was working with another guy, Robin, who's in our band, and he also had a band at the time, but a few of these things just started to kickstart an idea that, you know, we'd make some music together, and it might have a bit of an Irish influence to it, but it also had a little bit of a folky punk sound to it.
Now that's a really Irish folky punk.
Yeah.
I've never heard anything described in that way before.
Yeah.
Oh, and Paul is your guitarist as well?
Paul Kolomitsev is our bass player.
Bass, sorry.
And Jeremy is our drummer. And I think probably importantly, everyone in the band was really friends prior to, coming together as a band.
Was it working at the same school that helped solidise?
In some way, but I certainly was aware of Paul's work prior to working directly with him. I mean, to be honest, we don't get to talk too much about the band while we're at work, unfortunately.
No, I can understand.
It would be nice to, but...
Because you've got all the students to worry about, but afterwards you want to play music that you want to hear.
Yeah.
And now, where did this idea of selecting people who have had a real influence in the state, where did the idea of getting the interview with them and then writing the story come from, the music come from?
Well, I think, so we had brought out, don't quote me, but I think probably about 6 albums prior, Malcolm. And we've always sort of had a bit of a bent towards the folk tradition, writing songs about people and places you know. And we find it particularly, I suppose, interesting to write songs that have that substance on someone's life and what they've actually done. And so we really wanted to take that storytelling element and focus on that. And that's where the interview came up. And deciding on these people, it's people that have an impact on their community. They may have actually been quite well known several years ago, But
Well, let's talk first about Rodney Fox, because
That's right.
Rodney's been on this program a couple of times. Well, so that you understand what we're actually talking about here, let's just have a look at a little bit of the interview and a little bit of the song, and we'll see you after the break.
Gouged around the shark's head, as trying to get its eyes, and it seemed to let me go, and I pushed at it with my hand, but my hand disappeared in its mouth and tore. I had hundreds of stitches in my hands here. I quickly put my arms around the big shark, holding on back from its jaws so it couldn't bite me. And then I realised I'm still maybe 15 metres, 20 metres underwater, holding my breath, and I'm going to drown. So I had to let go to the surface. When I hit the surface, I managed to get one breath of air, and looking through the water, I've still got this memory of pink water, red water, which is my blood, and this great big shark coming up.
At Old Dinga Beach, I was diving in deep water. I speared 2 fish, then saw what I was after. A big dusky morwong lay hiding in the weeds. I caressed the trigger and started to squeeze. Felt a crushing thump on my left side. Swept through the water on a hellish ride. I gouged its eyes and fell out of its jaw. The ocean turned red from a body torn.
Our guests are Adam and Ben Hooper. While you've been going through this process of finding people to do an interview with and then write a song about, what's the process for you? Obviously you've got to find the people, or are these people that you've always had in your mind as you were growing up or going through life? But with Rodney, for example, Rodney Fox that we saw before, he's really a well-known identity who's obviously was mangled with sharks and now is out to protect them, and he's handed that over to his son. So who else have you talked to?
I think, Malcolm, for all of the people we've chosen for this project, we had to feel like there was a close connection in some way to help in the creative process. And Rodney, for example, you know, our mum and dad certainly have very vivid memories of when that attack
As
occurred.
do I, yes. Which is saying I think it's more or less the first TV shark attack that we all saw and were amazed by
Now,
in black and white.
I kind of missed that, you know, event. However, as a student, I remember very much going through the Rodney Fox Museum, and we'd go there on school excursions, and lo and behold, Rodney, you know, lived very close to us. And what I think...
And is a lovely man and would talk to anybody.
He's a fantastic bloke. And so I guess Mum and Dad's generation and our generation had an idea of, you know, Rodney's story. But the younger generation probably don't know so much about what he's achieved.
Which is why these sort of programs and what you're creating is so valuable. Because if we don't talk about what's happened in the past, we also don't know what's going to happen in the future. So we're going to have a look at another one. This is
Jenny Williams. And again, do you want to mention Jenny?
Well, Jenny we've known, again, actually grew up not far from the Williams family, so very famous sports family with her dad, Foss Williams. And we
famous footballer.
Yep, and so actually Jenny was the PE teacher at our school.
Oh, okay.
So we remember her, and she is a larger-than-life character.
Love it.
But what particularly interested us in Jenny was she is an amazing advocate for sport and women's sport, and probably well before the great achievements we've seen now in women's sport, Jenny was there. So going back in the 80s, she was representing... I think she represented her country and state in probably at least 6 sports.
Amazing.
And she's just an extremely positive person. As I said, larger than life, very funny, very engaging, and just has an amazing story to tell. When most people know about the family, particularly Foss and the sons.
Yes. Well, he's well known. I still see that photo with him marking the ball. So let's have a quick look at... first of all, a little bit of the interview leading into a little bit of the song.
You met a group of women at
teachers' college who had a major influence on you and also had a major influence on women's sport. Can you tell us a little bit about that group?
I hit there the first day and all of a sudden just met these other women that were just the same, that wanted to be good, that liked, and really, really fun. And all of a sudden it felt like I was home going to this place, and we forged a friendship over years, but the friendship, it wasn't just about one of us being great. It was, we worked out if we got each other great, the sum of all of us made it better in every sport. So
Roll call. Stories to tell of a groundswell. They were homegrown with close bonds. Cavaliers with no fear. Revolutionary game plans. Highly skilled rebel girls. 1 in a million, the brave, the brilliant. Told me once, but he didn't hear. So I kicked down the door and I shouted in his ear, I'm the colour you can't erase. I cross the line, won't be put in one place. I'm gonna break this open wide. Like the suffragette Mary Lee, I'll stand up and fight for what I believe. A superhero for real life. I'm the colour you can't erase. I cross the line, won't be put in one place. I'm gonna break this open wide. Like the suffragette Mary Lee, I'll stand up and fight for what I believe. A superhero for real life.
So it was clear that you've shot that in a home. So is that the sort of process you're going through, trying to find somewhere familiar to make the interview and then go into the song?
We've been very lucky that all of the people that have been involved in this project so far have
Lived somewhere.
lived somewhere close, but they've welcomed us into their home, and I think that's been a really important element. So the interviews have been pretty relaxed and informal.
Well,
and a bit
did
of
they
fun.
happen first before the song, or did you collate a whole lot of information, put in the song, and then say, hey, have a listen to this, now I want to interview you? How did you go about it?
So we certainly did an initial interview where we, told them about the project and tried to ask some questions that maybe gave some insight into different areas of their life.
Well, like, born where and lived where?
Certainly those ones. And
I was going to say, sorry to break in, it actually starts off sometimes, Malcolm, with a cold call.
Yep.
I'm
very familiar with that.
out of the blue cold call to say, hi, you might not remember us or you don't know who we are, but we're doing this project.
Oh, listen, I'm so pleased you said you might not remember us. Because all students who have teachers, the students move on in life and often forget the people that taught them to do whatever. To get a phone call like that would be just so rewarding, I would imagine, for anyone that taught you anything.
Well, we've had most, I would say actually all have been actually probably a little bit surprised with the call to start with.
Yes.
Probably a little bit nervous about who are these guys and what are they going to do. I know there's...
Or trying to remember who they were
that's true.
as well.
So as Adam said, we have initially go and have a chat, gather intel, I suppose, and then we go back as a band and write a song, the lyrics, and then we present it to them on camera, which is extremely nerve-wracking because you just don't know. We're not expecting everyone to love the song.
No. No, but how many people get a song written about them? Really?
But my voice, Malcolm, is not always the type of voice that you'd have playing at your wedding or your,
Yeah, but
your bar mitzvah.
that's how singing has changed. What we need to hear is truth.
Yeah.
In everything. And if it's truth, it's engaging, I think. Okay, so we've got one more to show everybody. Who's this?
So this is Nicki Vasilakis, and Nicki Vasilakis is a
Hall of Famer?
virtuosic violin player who comes from Adelaide, and she has perfect pitch. And me speaking about my voice a little bit rough at times, I was a little bit nervous about presenting our piece of music, which doesn't have auto-tune, and, to Nicki, who's got an amazing ear, and she's played all around the world with every orchestra you could think of. And yeah, that was a really amazing experience and one that I think she got a lot out of, as did we.
Well, what's good about that too is just in the 3 examples out of the 7 you've done so far, you've really covered a broad range of humanity within that, when you think about it. Just quickly, who else have you done so far? Who are the other 4?
The first one was the founder of the Findon Skid Kids, Mick
Yep.
Harley, which was just amazing. And we were lucky enough to play the final product to Mick before he passed away. That was a really special thing for us. We've also done a cricketer by the name of Peter McIntyre, who was in the famous drawn test, which in the Saka, which South Australia won the Sheffield Shield.
Yep.
And we've also interviewed a lady by the name of Casey Treloar, who was a dairy farmer and whose family went through a hell of a time. And she actually produced a video, very raw video, about life on the dairy farm and the problems and the market forces forcing them to sell. And we're currently talking to people, someone who I'm sure people will know this person's name as an environmentalist.
Walmsley.
Yes.
I read your mind.
Oh, there you go. And so we're in the process of doing one with John Walmsley, and he's an amazing person.
I came from Longwood, where he started all that. That's how I knew. Look, here's another example. Again, just a little bit of the interview and part of the song.
It came out when I was visiting a man who was I grew up, he was in our church, and he was in hospice and he was getting ready to die. And my dad asked me, who's the pastor of our church, to come along and play some hymns because he loves music. And at the time I was really kind of scared to go and visit somebody who's, is dying, and thinking this is really sad and I don't know what I'm going to do. And preparing myself for it, I didn't know what to expect. And I went into the hospice room, and as I started to play, I just really felt this lightness in the room, and almost this peace and tranquility that was very transcendent for me. And it really impacted me, just playing music and seeing this man. It was like he was just preparing himself to go.
Sadness, and play for no more grief. I'll play by your bed as you close your eyes and drift soundly to sleep. From 100,000 faces to a hospital room for a last breath. I'm part of a plan, and I plan to play my part. To these words, play for purpose, not fortune or fame. These worthless things we've gotta ignore. When the time comes, will you come looking for me? Don't be afraid to ask the way.
We're back with Adam and Ben Hooper. We've been talking about these film clips, and we've been talking about the songs that you're making and the interviews you're doing with the people. How did the idea come about in the first place? I don't think we established that before.
I guess, Malcolm, it was impacted a little bit by COVID and the shutdown.
Just what do we do while we're sitting at home?
Gigs.
Yeah.
That was partly one of the reasons. But we did talk about how we've always wanted to write songs about the people and places that we know in the folk tradition. So they're 2 elements that really brought this project together.
And people can see that at these addresses that we're just popping up on the screen now. So you've got Facebook pages and you've got YouTube links.
And we've got our Goldstein website. But yeah, we'd certainly encourage people to have a look at these and engage with them.
Well, they're sort of free to look at, really, aren't they?
Absolutely.
Well, that's one good thing, but what about hearing you play live? Because there's nothing like live, although the people won't be there to be live with you, I don't think.
Well, we're certainly working towards bringing this together, because we're going to release these as an album as well, Malcolm.
But you've got live shows planned, haven't you?
We do have some
In the
live
near
shows
future?
planned. So there will be an album release, and hopefully we'll be able to incorporate some of these fantastic people in the show.
Bits of the interviews, or
Bits of
maybe
the-
they'll be there live.
I hope we
Who
can get
knows?
Hopefully
some
we
of
can
this.
do it live.
But that's coming up this year, the plans for that.
Yes.
Guys, it's been lovely to talk with you. I've sort of known you vaguely in the background, but it's lovely to actually have this face to face. And it's been lovely to have your company this time on OurTime. So until next time, keep yourselves nice till then. We'll see you soon.